Wake Up Salone on your home of credible, factual and balanced news, AYV. Don't forget to move on to our Facebook page to share your thoughts and comments with us. And of course, you know, your opinions and submissions count here. So, you know, we move on to another segment in the program. We're going to be discussing the country's economy. Black Monday, which was declared yesterday by the consortium of progressive political parties. And also the president's controversial visit, I would call it or describe it, to Connaught, wherein we saw residents chanting, you know, their discernments and current dissatisfactions with the current situation in the country. In the studio, we have with us Femi Claudius-Cole, the chairperson for the Consortium of Progressive Political Parties, COP. And we have Mohammed Rahman Sware, Minister of Information and Communications. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Right. You know, we saw what happened yesterday. The consortium presented its letter to the Attorney General. And I wouldn't want to, you know, go further. I would give you the chance to explain what exactly you were aiming at with the letter and the declaration of a Black Monday.
The theme of Black Monday was we don't gains. And we decided that almost how many options are available to us to communicate to the government that on behalf of the people, the bulk of the people, things are happening that we're extremely unhappy about. You can apply, which we will, apply to the police for a protest. The probability of that protest being approved is 0. And the disadvantages of things like that is they can quickly spiral out of control, where maybe young people or even old people or people with different grievances can join into a protest, where you end up with loss of life, loss of livelihood. So we decided those options were not healthy for even our democracy and for our people. We chose instead to declare a Black Monday. Black Monday is if you na one way don't gaze, you simply put on black. That way nobody's life is put at risk, but you're still making a statement. And we decided also that we in the consortium, we not put nobody in Peking before. We ourselves are going to deliver 2 letters. We are going to walk from a party office to deliver 2 letters. I think in total we were probably about 14 or 15 of us, dressed in black, and we'll deliver these letters. A letter to the Minister of Justice and copied to the Chief Justice, where we itemized the reason why we say we don't gaze, to highlight to them that as the Minister of Justice, you're the protector of the Constitution. So it was a case of symbolism. And you saw what the approach and the way and manner how, and the reason why such symbolism is important is because there's a risk. There's a huge risk right now of us slowly, gradually sliding into a one-party state, but more concerning, a police state, and even more scary, a dictatorship. And as responsible opposition, we cannot sit by and watch all these things play out and say nothing. Because even when we went to Parliament, parliamentarians on the SLPP side were basically saying, well, what you don't do? Una go court, una not go court. So there comes a point where we have to take a stand. And this was just our first attempt to highlight the issues. It was put together at very, very short notice, but it wasn't scoring points. It was making a point that we are concerned, we are worried, we're heading down a very slippery slope where there's no rule of law, there's no respect for the Constitution, And we, as responsible oppositions, will not continue to let it slide. We will make a stand. And we're actually proposing having a Black Monday at the first Monday of every month. This time, a lot of people didn't know about it, didn't hear about it. So I think we should spread the word a little wider, and then we can begin to see. That could be a good barometer. Maybe they would listen to Black.
I'm curious to ask this question. The fact that you just mentioned it's not a way of scoring political goals. Is it a way of nicely starting the campaign to kick SLPP out of power come 2023? I mean by opposition parties.
It is a way of the SLPP realizing that they are not going to have it all their way. That there is a voice of dissent, and we will dissent as much as you will try to close us down. How that plays out for the SLPP is left to them. They claim to be a listening government. They claim to be a government that gives information, that responds to information. So are they listening? If they are listening, then there are many areas that they can rectify it. But we're worried. We're scared. The people are also fed up. And we cannot just sit by and sit on our hands as opposition and watch our constitution being railroaded. We watch people being killed. And we watch our democracy being, I mean, it was clear on the video where the police were actually angry, aggressive, because we were wearing black. I'm like, is there something in the constitution that says we have to be color coded? Perhaps if we were in green, they would not have assaulted us and, harassed us the way they did. But no, we have to take a stand. There comes a point where we have to take a stand. We cannot allow it to continue in this trajectory. It is worrisome. It is scary. Our judiciary is, I don't know. It seems to be almost like a skeleton in a closet.
Now, one could argue that, as opposition parties, not to oversimplify the role of opposition parties, but basically your role is to oppose, as the word implies. And so no matter what the government does, you simply just oppose. So on what grounds are you making these claims, talking about the Constitution, and other instances of, not abiding by the rule of law?
Well, that's why I insert the word. There are many other political parties that are in opposition who are, who are very much in step and in tandem with the SLPP. But I then add the word responsible. So if something is being done well, you do not and will not hear the opposition opposing for the sake of opposing. Where we come in and where our voices need to be heard is when there are missteps. And
so what are some of these missteps?
Okay, well, let's start with the hot topic of today. Let us talk about the suspension of the Auditor General, where if they are really listening, the voices, experienced lawyers, some are resigning, some are coming out with statements to say, this is not the order in which things should be done. And even my good friend here, the Minister of Information, when asked by the BBC, was simply spinning around the question and could not really answer. And we're all worried. Why on earth so close to the publication of the country's finances? This now we balance sheet. How have you spent our money? Have you obeyed the rules? Have you sidestepped the rules? And then she is suspended indefinitely. This is the woman who you were praising just yesterday. That
you would have your time.
This is a woman who had shown her integrity. And this is a government supposedly empowering women.
But is it wrong to institute administrative, investigation into the conduct of public servants?
No, it isn't wrong for as long as you follow the laid down principles, the laid down criteria. You cannot execute a man and then have his trial after his execution and say that is justice. Let's just touch on that. Then let us go to Kamarimba's case, which was included in our letter. Where in the world would you see a man has been given bail? His bail conditions have been met. and he's still incarcerated. He was never given his bail. That is a human rights violation. And that is malfunctioning of our judiciary. Then we look at, then we can even go to other issues that they were promising us they were going to fix. Those 49,000 bags of rice. There was never a report or a conclusion. Secondly, in our case of our protest, our march to deliver our letters, there were like 15 of us. There were police that outnumbered us, I think, 25 to 1, yelling and screaming at us because A, we were in black, and B, we were delivering a letter. I said, there is no band, there is no music, there is nothing, there are no banners. We're walking in the streets of Freetown to deliver a letter. And that got them so uncomfortable. And yet we saw in Kono, they brought out the whole city. And there was not a pip squeak about the dangers of such a crowd. And I so appreciate the children for making their voices heard in that particular forum.
All right. Let's bring in the Minister of Information just quickly. I mean,
she spoke close to 15 minutes.
There are a lot of
well, you know, so you are craving for equality, equity.
I can guarantee you she did not speak up to 15 minutes.
So let's get it clear. She has literally said that your government is killing democracy, and you're slowly becoming a dictatorial, regime, and these are grave concerns if Sierra Leone should develop. First, let's have your take on that. No. Killing democracy, killing the rule of law.
No. So first, I'm not talking to COP. I'm having a conversation with AYV.
Let's go ahead.
Right?
With the people.
Fair enough.
With the people of Sierra Leone.
Fair enough.
I don't know where COP is recognized, so I don't want to recognize an outfit that is controversial by its very nature. So I'm going to speak to the issues Femi has raised, because these issues are germane to the sustenance of our democracy. She has made quite very loose, gaseous allegations about the state of health of our democracy. Mm-hmm. You know, I particularly like the theme of yesterday's Black Monday, which has been trailed for the last 1 week or so on social media. You know, so the poor attendance calling on Sierra Leoneans to wear black, and nobody literally did, is to tell you that the people that don't against opposition antics. They want you to be partners in nation building. They don't like the opposition being obstructive, you know, and making noise even when you don't require it, or you should be cheering. So the people that don't against, now they don't support una. But I think that was a more decorous approach than previously when you went to State House and insisted on crashing to deliver a letter to His Excellency. I'd like to congratulate you for that. Yesterday was more decorous. 15 people, you know, no, not as rowdy as previously. So that is number one thing. So the people that don't against opposition, when they make constructive criticism, even when government does things right, you know, not making nobody know whether una black, una choose for una 15 where and go. I mean, that's okay. I mean, democracy is about listening to dissenting views as well. So what's the state of health of our democracy? This democracy is alive, is well, thriving, and kicking. We all realize, I mean, by and large, this is a nascent democracy. It has its own challenges. But this is a democracy where just a few weeks ago, His Excellency has abolished the death penalty. Successive governments have used that over the years to kill some of the most illustrious sons of the soil. This is this democracy that they say is problematic. The people she is working in cohort with, the APC, which many say is now their paymaster, but again, these are allegations. I cannot verify it. Remember, she said some of the opposition parties are very cozy with the SLPP. Some opposition parties, which are really literally empty shells, which are latching onto this coalition, right? Some of them, for all you care, might be getting, you know, handouts from chairman leader for life. You never know. But that's another matter for some day. So you are talking about a democracy where a 55-year-old criminal libel law has been repealed, right? There is no journalist standing trial. There is no journalist in jail on account of the practice of their profession. This is this democracy that Femi has condemned to death. But, you know, when you are opposition, you don't just oppose everything. In the UK and other parts of the world, they have what they call Her Excellency's loyal opposition. Yeah, you are loyal to.
I'm tempted to draw you to the issues Femi has raised. One, the issue of the Auditor General.
No, that was at the tail end of her presentation. You are not going to stampede me out of this conversation. Let me.
I am merely trying to draw you to the issues
I took notes. Just be patient with me, and I will appreciate not being interrupted like she was not, so that I can
have to moderate the program. I was in the same way drawing her attention to speak to the issues.
Samuel, please. I mean, I like this program decorous. I mean, I listened to Femi uninterrupted for all that she ranted.
We'll definitely have to keep you on track. Go ahead.
No. I'm off of that. I have not gone out of track. She has said the democracy is dying.
Continue.
You cannot have a dying democracy where they are repealing some of the most obnoxious, repressive, and anachronistic laws. That's what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
Right? You have had that done under this administration. Right? You have no political prisoners in jail anywhere. But this is a law and order society. This is a rule-based society. When people come in conflict with the law will bite them heavily, you know, as per law prescribed. So this is something we cannot take away from the law. So she has mentioned the suspension of the Auditor General. I mean, I have been an administrator at very senior levels in all the places where I've worked. I mean, suspensions are provided for. In the first place, on a normal day, I would say it's a misnomer that you have the JLSC, Judicial Legal Service Commission, having to decide something that has to do with the Auditor General. You know, it happens so in the case of judges, because judges are by their very nature part of the judiciary. They are recruited by the JLSC. Their promotion, transfer, and other recommendations come from the JLSC. So you can understand that. It's a little strange that you have to go through same with the Auditor General. But this is a rule-based society. Suspensions do not happen for nothing. Any place where that happens is to ensure that nobody tinkers with the evidence, nobody meddles with it, nobody tampers with it, right? So, but we are saying the spirit and intent of the law is to ensure that people are not arbitrarily removed from their posts to fulfill and satisfy somebody's whims and caprices. So that is why the matter was duly referred to the JLSC. The JLSC made a representation to His Excellency. A three-person tribunal has been set up, and we are merely saying Lara and Co. can have their day before the tribunal and be sure they'll be treated very fairly. I mean, this is the point we are saying. But where there have been persistent leaks of otherwise classified information attributable to the audit service, where the audit service will recognize the very important role that the audit service plays in national development, but they are also not above due process, right?
And just quickly on that, Femi mentioned that she agrees that the president should suspend the Auditor General as provided for in the law, but the procedure was wrong. So, for example, legal opinions have made it clear.
They have varied. You know, you have Gabidon here. They have varied. They have not made it any clear.
So what they've submitted is that the Judicial and Legal Service Commission has to initiate a complaint to the president, and the president has to set up a tribunal, and that tribunal then has to recommend for suspension of the Auditor General.
Remember, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm smart.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I spoke about the spirit and intent of the whole thing.
Right.
Was to ensure that people are not arbitrarily removed from their post, people are not deprived of the right of a fair hearing, and all of those things. We want to assure you this. We want to assure you this. I mean, you saw we presided over the commissions of inquiry here. I mean, there were grave fears even before the commissions commenced, right? Some of the most controversial people were let off the hook. They were acquitted and discharged for want of evidence. So the same thing will happen in this case. We have no interest in manipulating the three-person tribunal. In fact, these are jurists who have made a reputation for themselves, and I'm sure this is an acid test for them to defend their hard-won reputations.
Again, that has been questioned. Forgive me.
Yeah,
Sure. The two persons out of the three appointed to serve in the tribunal, two directly works, for example, with the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, should I say by extension the government of Sierra Leone. So they've been questioned already whether or not, I mean, the hearing or the process is going to be fair.
Okay, so let us put it this way, right? In this country, I know if they don't have anything to say about you, they will say you are the son of your mother, which is quite obviously fact. Everybody is, you know, is a son or daughter of their mother, right? So they will say that. I'm aware that Farmer, one of the people, like Farmer brought on the three-person tribunal, is a consultant. A consulting relationship is not a normal employer-employee relationship, right? And you saw how he led with the commissions. He was part of the commissions, and the commissions ended up being fair, acquitting and discharging people, right? You know, people have tried to ethnicize it, right? But one of those people who had mountains of allegations against her and who was set free by the previous commissions of inquiry was Sylvia Olayinka Blyden. She's Creole, she's a woman. I saw the press release from the Creole Descendants Union, right? So as long as you have your case clear, nobody is on an ethno-regional hunt. The case is going to be on its merit, right? So that's it for Farmer. The other person you talk about, in fact, the relationship they tried to establish with what's the farm again? The Brewer Law Farm.
Yes.
It's very, very tenuous. I understand this was a long-standing relationship, you know, that exists no more. So again, it's quick we make these allegations on social media without verifying them. I spoke to the AG before I got here. So those
we'll
allegations have no
the conversation
moment.
here for now. It's moving up to 9 o'clock now in our studios, and at 9 we have to take a summary of the news. For that, we join our man in our studio to Ransford McLean. Good morning to you, Ransford.
Well, good morning, Antonia. In the top story in the news this morning, the Consortium of Progressive Political Parties have presented a position letter over concerns of alarming states of the rule of law in the country to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice and the Chief Justice. Among of the concerns highlighted by the consortium is the indefinite suspension of the Auditor General, lack of freedom of expression, Mohammed Kambarimba's Mansari detention, among other things.
Before again for pull the 2020 audit report where they audit government the money, the way they use money. Just before he come for pull that report day. 9 them pull and come out 9 position. They say that they can't open case panel. Okay, so we don't know waiting that this thing we do. Although we don't hear it say, now some of the things that we inside that report 9 they know one for level hearing. Poor Bobo we don't give all in life for the go fed to make vigilante for SL. Now one man 9 they say they allege say give instruction they fire. He died. The man where they give instructions say fire and they hold on for one event no more. They come out the work open long that it. Kamarimba where they allege say he penetrate, they don't live for 1 year 3 months. They're not left out. Now the justice this way, who we don't meet, who gets now in this country. We don't tire, we don't gaze. We be one for, because of all the reasons there, so we want for stage a demonstration. If this not be normal country, we want for stage a demonstration. But we not be one for start something where other people them, their life will be at risk.
Now, in another news, the Director of Public Debt Management Division at the Ministry of Finance, Matthew Sandi, has disclosed that Sierra Leone's total public debt increased to 3.71 trillion leones in 2020 from 26.8 trillion leones in 2019. This is an addition of 3 trillion leones from the previous year. The data was made public during a workshop at the Leisure Lodge Hotel in Freetown to review the country's national debt sustainability analysis.
That stock, not of one government, but of the whole country, is 30 trillion. In the US dollar terms, it's around $3 billion. There are a lot of debts that were not even disclosed. So those ones alone, they accounted for more than $300 million. And those ones were in the form of arrears. So there were arrears that were accumulated by previous governments over the past 10 years that were under the carpet. But they were verified by the Auditor General and boldly accepted because of the responsibility of government to be committed to to doing business principles, that when any government accumulate bills, it should be accepted.
The total stock of public debts as at end December 2019, this is before COVID, amounted to 26.7 trillion or 71.24% of GDP, of which external and domestic accounted for 16.54 trillion and 10.24 trillion respectively. Public debt stock increased to 74.24% of GDP as at end December 2020.
And finally, the Minister of Finance, Dennis Vandi, has expressed dissatisfaction over certain project managers of organizations that have failed to work within the project mandate after donors have disbursed funding to them. He added that most of them are now asking for an extension of time and more funding for their project, while they have failed to use the initial funding given to them. Usually, he made this statement during the country's annual portfolio status of the implementation workshop at the Ministry of Finance Conference Hall in Freetown.
To look for grants, when we seek loan, which is not free, and we put in the hands of people to implement, they find it a little bit difficult to do their own part of the target.
Cannot finish big one within. Let's have realistic recourse rather than having continuous every time you go as 1 year.
And that's all in the news. And back to you, Samuel and Antonia.
All right, many thanks to you, Ransford McLean, for bringing us some of the top stories in the news. We still have with us the Minister of Information and Communications, Mohammed Rahman Swari, the acting chairperson for the Consortium of Progressive Political Parties, Femi Claudius Cole, with us in the studio. And you were responding, Mr. Minister, to some of the things raised by Femi. You've responded to the issue of the Auditor General. And she also critically mentioned that Mohammed Kamaremba Mansari is languishing because somebody somewhere with so much power, somebody who is stronger than the law, is saying, no, Mohammed Kamaremba Mansari should be there.
Is this the Mohammed Kamaremba who was in detention on grounds of sexual penetration?
Yes.
Okay. So I understand, I follow that matter very keenly. The court granted him bail. So I understand he has continued to stay in Gao because he has not been able to fulfill bail conditions, right? In any case, I am part of the executive. That is part of the judiciary. And we have promised and committed to not interfering with due process. The judiciary is separate and apart from the executive. That is the beauty of a democracy. Separation of powers, checks and balances.
All right. So there are many issues which, the minister has spoken to. And it seems on their part, they're satisfied with the way governance is going, contrary to the opinion and claims made by COP. You are hoping that they would listen, and you've presented your letter to the Attorney General. Why the Attorney General?
He is in charge of our Constitution. He is the watchdog. He's the head of the judiciary, basically. And just to bring you back, the minister and the Chief Justice, they both got letters. I bring you back to the minister. The minister actually gave you zero information, by the way. Even on the topic of Lara, he spent quite a bit of time praising COP, because that's all I will say, and making unfounded allegations that COP is being funded. COP is actually for clarification. And I stand on my integrity, has not been funded by any chairman and leader. You can question my integrity. Time will prove whether I am or not. But we are now talking about what the SLPP government is doing in real time. When it is convenient for the Minister of Information to come on a program and give us information, don't give us spin. Kamarimba has met his bail condition. If he hasn't, which has he not met? You are here talking to the people. Don't talk to COP. You don't recognize COP. COP was not soliciting his resignation. So if Kamarimba has met, he has met.
Not stricto sensu.
No, but before you come on the media to challenge your own government's position, you have to come and
you make all these loose gaseous allegations here. You are asking people to script, Femi?
The Kamarimba has met, he has met his bail conditions. They then added a proviso. Maybe I can now give the Minister of Information some information that alleging that he was an American citizen. I think they have proved beyond all reasonable doubt that he is not. They then called for his passport. The man gave them his passport, which he has used to travel one time to Guinea. They said, why is it a new passport? He said, my passport was burnt in my house and they asked now for the police report. Now, on this issue, we have not sat idly by. I, myself, and Dr. Bright, we went and spoke with the Chief Justice. We said, if a bail, explain to us why he has not been granted even after bail has been given. So they were saying about a police report. Now, he may not be a lawyer, and neither am I. But I do know that if the judge needs a document from the police, it is not the family that should go and get that information. He subpoenas that information. He sends them a letter. Give me the police report to prove that this man's house is burnt. But let me say something that shows you that it is not, Kamarimba is not now being incarcerated because of sexual penetration per se. He is being incarcerated because he's an opposition leader. That can only be deduced. I got a call from Kailaon, a case of sexual penetration of a young child. I think she was 8. Can I tell you? The mother called me. I have no idea where she got my number. She called me sobbing that, look, the one left this man. I made a few calls to say, investigate. Why would a case of sexual penetration of an 8-year-old, you want to release the perpetrator? He was then held and supposed to be charged. As we speak, he's out on bail.
Can I ask you this question? The minister said, there's separation of power, so they cannot go into the work of the judiciary. That's an independent arm of government. But now, if you are saying Kamarimba is being held on political grounds, so
I am alleging.
Oh, okay. As you are alleging that Kamarimba is being held on political grounds,
yes.
Are you saying the judiciary is being politically influenced by the executive?
Samuel, the unseen hand in the judiciary, it is so clear that even a 2-year-old can be able to tell you that there is executive influence in the judiciary. The Minister of Information will not want me to say it. We saw it in their honeymoon period. Their honeymoon period, where the Constitution says, in the case where you're going to remove these MPs, there should be a by-election. Instead, with the assistance of the judiciary, they simply picked their own people and put them back in there. They appointed.
What they did, the executive.
The SLPP
it's difficult to have an elevated conversation with Femi.
No, because I'm speaking on the issues. I'm not going to
elevated conversation with her. She is making sweeping, wild generalizations all over the place that she cannot substantiate.
But these,
so this is making this conversation
these claims
difficult.
are not only coming now, especially when successive governments have always been accused of influencing the judiciary.
Well, you have to show me the smoking gun in this instance. Nobody has produced a smoking gun.
Let us use the MPs as a smoking gun.
The judiciary, in their wisdom, because I have mentioned stricto sensu, the judiciary is separate independent and apart from the other organs of government.
Is it in practice or in paper?
That's in practice. You have to show me evidence that that is not the case.
Then would the opposition parties be right to say the government of the day is not following the due process of the law, it's not abiding by the rule of law, wherein taking the case of the MPs, where the Constitution states one thing, the law states one thing, but the action of the judiciary is contrary to law?
Well, so the judiciary has stood by that position. They say they did the right and property in the circumstance.
But you have a written law, you have the legislation which dictates how processes should be followed.
It will be interesting to have that conversation with the judiciary, right? We are in the executive, we also took our grievances to the same judiciary. In some of the instances, they turned our matters down. We lost those cases. About 31 cases we brought up, election petition cases in the northern province. We lost all of them. We brought some over here, some in Freetown. Our members lost there, including one by the nephew of His Excellency the President. That is not a judiciary that counsels to the whims and caprices of a ruling government. Except if you know something else that the public does not know.
I would love to ask the minister, is there a report on the killings in Pademba Road? Has there been an investigation? Have they published a report? The killing of the driver, whose boss was held in CID for overnight. Has there been a report published?
So you want to take over the interview now?
No,
I'm not going to let you take over the interview.
I'm sorry, please forgive me, Samuel.
AYV. This is how, this is, you know, Femi is very, very notorious for this, eh? Her deputy resigned, her deputy resigned for bad governance. You know, Nasu Fofana was her deputy. Yeah, well, this was public, her resignation letter was published. You know, in these matters, there has to be decorum. You and I are interviewees here. Let us listen to the interviewers.
All right.
If they raise their answer.
Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. Let's quickly welcome Thomas Dixon in our studio too. Thomas, good morning and welcome to.
Good morning, Samuel.
All right, stay there with us, Thomas. Let's just quickly go to Kono and take a video that has been circulated on social media with the president's trip there, and then we'll come back, contextualize the conversation.
One country, like no they let them also, they like no plenty also, and the city of Kono forget enough light. I don't get the message.
Quite interesting there in Kono and in the studio this morning. But let's get to it. Dixon, you're one of those, I mean, this particular video, you're one of those that made a post about it saying the people are speaking up now. Realities, I mean, are now kicking in. So take us through, what do you make of this particular call by the people in that video?
I think it's an interesting one, and I believe it's very difficult to see when the president is talking or giving keynote addresses, and then the people interject, shouting their concerns. What's happened in Kono, I think, is a wake-up call to the reality for the government to look. I think I posted that the president should forget about the tales that are being told by the people that are close to him, and focus on the mood of the people. The mood of the people was expressed clearly in Kono, that rice is very expensive, that there is no light in Kono, and many, many other issues across the country, not only in Kono about lights. And the president was dumbfounded. It was, when you look at the video, looking around, it was like shock, because he was talking about electricity don't come. And then it changed his statement from small electricity don't come. So I think it's a reality check, and I believe as government, they should not look at those things carelessly, but they should look at it very seriously and try to address the needs of the people. It's not about speaking or talking theories. It's about practicalizing those theories. From what we've seen, most of the things that are happening are just theoretical things. This is theory, and we hardly see the reality of these things. I believe with regard to electricity, there are some strides around the country. Freetown, some parts of Freetown are enjoying over 18 hours electricity, and there are other places enjoying electricity. But if you ask the people in Bo and Kenema, which is the stronghold of the government, they will tell you that they don't have electricity. I've visited Bo and Kenema once or twice, and even the electricity that is being generated, it won't charge your phone. It won't charge your phone. And there are times you only see, the people will only tell you that they will have light when the president is in Bo or in Kenema.
Was politics at play there in Kono? I'm asking because the president was there to commission a road, the construction of a road that would definitely, breed development at the end of the day. The president was also there to commission the university. So what was politics at play?
Well, I think, for me, I don't think it was politics. The president was there to unleash his developmental activities. But in the process of unleashing or launching his developmental plans for the district, he made some certain statements that are not true, according to the people. And they had to interject. And in the process of interjecting, they started shouting the things that the president said they've done that are not in their district, like electricity. Like, we all know rice is very expensive, and it's up to 500,000 for a bag now, which is $50 for a country where the minimum wage is 600,000. So I think this is a serious concern. I'm happy that the recent budget speaks to 25% increment of salaries of teachers, lecturers, police officers, and workers. So I'm happy for that. But is that enough? Is that really, really enough? But one may want to say we don't have the resources to do 100% budget, 100% increment in salaries and wages.
All right, stay with us, Dixon. Let's hear from our viewers on Facebook and see what they have to say on this.
All right, Ronald Georgetown, your messages are not complete. So I only stop where, I receive the messages. It's interesting, David Kuruma is saying, let me read this. Samuel, there are allegations from different quarters that you are very, very active in reading text in support of everything about government and giving ample time to guests from government, even if they interrupt to others times. You never stop them, which made even some international TV stations are no longer frequently linking AYV. Fingers are really pointing at you, bro. If so, change that narrative. It's interesting. Sometimes it's good for us to read these messages. Let's get to the issues. Most politicians are full of idealism and no realism. Where were you when previous governments were doing wrong? Now a coalition of consortium. Can you please tell us what is unprecedented? We have seen it all. Joseph Lawrence is saying. AYV, can you please ask the chairperson of the consortium, as a member of a political party that wants to rule Salone, what are they doing to help elevate lives of Salone people that form Put Salone Force? I'll take 5 more messages. Madam Femi Claudius School, don't you think there is a very decent way of expressing grievances other than wearing black and noisily walking through the streets of Freetown and obstructing the peace of others? That from B.W. Bakari. Bakish, the ACC guy, has left. We won't take those questions, please. Samuel, I have never had these opposition party members come out and show us that what they are doing for Salone people. All they want is to rule Salone. David Kuruma is saying, Madam Cole, you've been seeing people arrested and imprisoned before going in search of evidence for Imowa. So this is Salone's new trajectory. You should know that. Amara Induka is saying, Samuel, if we want Sierra Leone to move on, let us stand up and have the 1991 constitution changed, because this instrument was done under serious international pressure. So much power we concentrate on the executive, the president in power. All right, all the messages there. We have hundreds of them. We do not have time.
I'm sure this conversation can last a couple of days if we continue to go round and round. But yes, obviously you get a chance to respond to that, and that's exactly where I want to take you to now, as we try to round up. Maybe when opposition parties make these claims, you can say they're standing on their biases, but these are voices of the people. What we saw in that video were people talking about the realities on ground, lights no day, it's no day, whatever they said there, are their realities. What do you have to say regarding this?
The tip. Well, so on a normal day, I would have said, of all the places visited, this was the only one that captured the attention of AYV. We went to Tolly Chibidon, for example. In Tolly Chibidon, I mean, amongst the very jubilant reception His Excellency received, they told us 44 years ago they saw a sitting president visit.
I don't want you to go
No, I'm coming. I'm not going on. No, I'm merely saying this is not representative of the tape. But if you were to put the tape in context, it is simply because they trust this president. They know when they say things to him, he
so
has
you do accept that these are their realities?
No, they know the president has handed himself the sobriquet of talk and do. And they know if he knows their problems, he will solve them.
So these are their problems, and you accept that these are
we have a magic wand, we have all problems, it's already
exactly. So these are the issues.
So my position is, the president visited Kamayende, for example, where you have APC people converting to the SLPP, where you had a very tumultuous welcome. We went to Tolly Chibidon, where no sitting president has been in the last 44 years. The last time a sitting president visited he flew in. He did not even get to understand the challenges of those communities. We went to Nimikoro, where the people literally hammocked the president, paying glowing tributes to him for bringing greater beneficiation schemes to them in terms of mining royalties, doing a school for them, and other community developments. So what we say here is not representative. But even if it were anything to make sense of, it is simply because they trust this president. They know once he understands their problems, he will ensure that they are resolved. So the electricity thing, work in progress. Water, work in progress. It does not happen kum fire kum. You say it's done.
All right then. So as we round up the conversation, Femi, you've taken the letter to the Attorney General and to the Chief Justice. What's next for COP?
I think we're going to actually roll the Black Monday to a more regular schedule, where we can, and probably they can then see but it's amazing. We have the Minister of Information with us, and if you take away from this entire program, he's actually given us no information. The video has given us more and giving them. So does it take the kids to yell at the president that he doesn't know? But this is a president where I think they are responsible for keeping him in the dark, because this is a man, even at COP26, said he didn't know that there was illegal logging. So he didn't know that rice is an issue, light is an issue, water is an issue. It takes the kids for them to tell him. But the embarrassment for my colleague, the embarrassment for my colleague is when you cannot defend the government's position. You can either attack Ms. Claudia Skoll, which you are welcome to do at any time, or you can attack COP with whichever implication or allegations you want to make, but the issues stand on their own. I would like the minister to speak. The Africanist press just put out more publications. Are those false? And we're talking about trillions of Leone's deficit. Don't attack Ms. Claudia Skoll, please. If the people like, they will vote for Ms. Claudia Skoll. If they don't, they will vote for you. But the issue is, we have trillions of Leone's deficit. And we have an Africanist press that is publications are showing to gross misuse of our money. Is what the Africanist press publishing, are they false? The fact that somebody was shot and killed and nobody has been held accountable, is that false? Is it false that the boxes in Connaught were damaged? Is it false that the EU report,
if this is going to be a roll-on conversation,
the EU report held questions. Don't waste your energy and I will not waste my TV time attacking him. He wants to use valuable time when you can speak to the people attacking his closure code and my deputy. Is that why we're here?
You made very allegations about the death of our democracy. I said, look, in a dying democracy, nobody abolishes the death penalty. Nobody repeals the criminal libel law.
And now we go to assassinations. From death penalties, we now have assassinations.
If neither of us listen, we would not end the
She won't allow decorum to prevail. I am merely saying, in a dying democracy, we recognize this is a nascent democracy, but realize that under this precedent, right, we have done very frame-breaking changes, including repealing the criminal libel law, including the recent abolition of the death penalty, including the gender empowerment bill currently in Parliament. When you have a group of opposition people who really do not see anything good, even with all of these reforms that they failed to do in 10, 11 years, that people have not been able to do in 55 years, right? You know, so you wonder what kind of opposition people these are. They talk about the food crisis. You and I know this country is by and large largely dependent on importation of foodstuffs. But if you ask them, I put her on the spot the other day, she and Dr. Dennis Bright, they don't even have an inch of farmland anywhere.
All right.
So opposition is not just about criticizing, be part of the change, be part of the action.
Let's move to our studio two.
You asking for me?
Dixie, I know better than you.
Let's move to our studio two, gentlemen and lady. Dixie, quickly as we wrap up.
I think some of the issues that have been raised here are issues that will embolden or strengthen the democratic process we are in. Obviously, there are some strides in terms of our democracy, like the repeal of the 1965 Public Order Act, and yesterday the president assented to some global media coalition. I think that is also very good, and the removal of the death penalty, I think, is also good. But there are also things that the government should look at. The bread and butter issue. This government campaign on the platform that, I remember the campaign song, Tolombo Nogu Sidoya, Angry Boku. And if that is the campaign song, then this government should double their effort to look at the bread and butter issue of the people. Rice is going to 500,000 units, and people are raising concern. There should be a turnaround so that the people will continue to impose their hope in them.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much to all of you for making time to come to Wake Up Early. And we're taking a quick break. It's 1/2 past the hour in our studios. We'll be back with a fresh conversation.